Hello, this is Winston Cunningham. It is August the 3rd, 2026. And what I want to talk about today is that you can't get rid of anything. There's a universal law that states that all is in the process of expressing itself energy-wise. And energy does not go away. It just changes in appearance. So no matter what it is in the universe, is in the process of expressing depending on the need for that expression. The need. I did a talk already on the need, which shows up as a result of our own questioning to ourselves, consciously or unconsciously. So that at any given time, what is being addressed in our experience is an answer to our questions. Many we don't even know we asked, because it comes in the form of a curiosity. But as I learned very quickly at School of Metaphysics, curiosity is not enough. There has to be another reason for doing something. If you want to be aware, that's the whole thing, is the desire for awareness is the key that unlocks the mystery to anything. And the mystery is unlocked to the extent that we are prepared to pay attention. The key word is pay. I believe that I can have anything that I want. And the biggest words I learned at School of Metaphysics, and this comes primarily from my teacher, is that it depends. When you hear somebody say, oh, I would never do that, or I would do that in a particular situation, well, until you get in that situation, you don't really know. You don't. So anything you can prepare. And with the experience, you learn to prepare better as you go. And so there's a subtle change in the way that your total energy is being expressed. And sometimes when I was just recently texting to someone who wanted me to answer questions that had already been addressed in some talks that I'd done. So I just referred her to the talks. Well, she was offended. She wanted me to obviously sit and text all of the things that I've already answered. There's no need for me to express that again. It has already been expressed. And if somebody wants to hear the way I've expressed it, I've got it on these talks. And so it would be a waste of my time to approach it that way. A waste of my time. Because I'm busy gathering information related to what I'm going for, what I'm looking for, a different way or a higher way that I'm wanting to express. To go back and express how I've already expressed, and there's no need to do that, would be, to me, a waste of energy. And this person requesting me doing this does not know that they're being selfish. and they don't know the difference. I'm being sacredly selfish. There's a difference. If it piques your curiosity, then look into it. Sacred selfishness as opposed to selfishness. It's the difference in physical only thinking and spiritual thinking. But that's not the subject today. The way that energy, and you are energy expressing itself as you have chosen to be, or let me be more specific, as you chose while existing as a soul. So it's your soul that did the requesting. You as a soul did the requesting. And what I'm after now is the fulfillment of that request I made as a soul to learn to express in a higher, much more meaningful way. And at the present time, I am currently downloading the information that I will need to approach this. It will be the fourth major life cycle for me of 28 years. And I'm taking this very seriously. And I spend a lot of time during the day, each day, just being silent and just with the intention of absorbing from within what I need in order to approach this. And when someone wants to pull me or distract me by something that I've already been through, then I want to redirect my attention into what I see is going to serve me. And if I'm serving myself correctly, then I'm also serving everyone else. If that sounds strange to you, then look a little deeper within yourself to understand more of who you are, because you are the essence of God learning to express itself. And I may be in kindergarten where that's concerned. But it is something that too many people have given no thought at all to. None. Like this lady today that wanted me to go back over what I've already been through. Is offended that I didn't respond in the way that she expected me to, which was at a much lower level than I am now. It's a level that I've already been to and do not want to repeat. And this is a way for me to aid this person in recognizing more of herself by not buying into the foolishness that she's involved in. And it is foolishness. I find that texting is a very insufficient way to communicate. Too much room for ifs, ands, or buts. Whereas if someone wants to listen to my talk, I'll tell them, if you want to know who I am, listen to my talks. That tells you. Because when I'm talking this way, I'm being very specific about something specific. I'm not just rambling here. Because I choose a topic that I need to clarify within myself and express this. And it is a teaching tool, even though I do not do these talks as a teaching thing, it is, and I express my purpose very clearly, that I'm in the process of paying attention to what step I'm in so that I can reach for my next step, and that somebody hearing these talks may be stimulated to do something similar, which will benefit them. But the only way a person, not the only way, but the way that a person that needs to hear what I'm saying can connect with me is through their own soul. Their own soul guides them to how to find the answer to their questions. And I've been working with this now for the last 40 years. And how many lifetimes, I don't know. But it was only upon beginning to become more aware of who I am that I realized that I have learned very much in previous lifetimes that I can use now. But if I get caught up in the hoopla of the consensus of opinion, like acting like a computer program, and the thing I've noticed about computer programs and that in businesses have and so forth, they ask a question, but they only leave room for the answer that they want to hear. They have no room for the truth. And I have a problem with that. And now the computer represents the brain. And the brain does what, it's a fantastic instrument, but it does what you tell it to do. If you tell it to ignore, it will ignore. If you tell it to pay attention, it will pay attention. You log in, you download whatever it is that you want, what you acknowledge that you want. Now, if you're in the hoopla of the consensus of opinion, the playing the games and all that stuff, then your own subconscious mind just says you want it, you got it. So the hoopla continues. Well, I was just at a restaurant, and I know better, but it's noisy in there, and I don't like to eat with noise. In fact, when I eat at home, I've got everything turned off. Now, I will eat watching TV, and that's a bad habit, but I do it. I don't do it on a regular basis because I prefer to eat, and while I'm eating, I'm paying attention to the taste, the texture, and all of those things. Because I understand that to get the most out of something, including eating, is to have your full attention on what you're doing. To consider the taste, the touch, the smell, the sound. And the sight. I knew there was one more. Always leave one out. I guess that's just a way for me to practice. I don't know. When you say, I want to do this differently than what I did, that's the way that we correct ourselves when we understand we've made a mistake, like I did at the restaurant. I knew it was noisy, and I went there anyway. And sure enough, somebody tried to call me while I was there, and I had to tell them it's just too noisy here. It's not possible to carry on a conversation because just to the left of me, there's a conversation going on in an elevated manner from another language that I don't speak. So that's on one side. And on the other side, there's a conversation going on that is equally as loud, but so I'm distracted in two different ways, plus the overall distraction of the noise of the music. And people are doing these things without understanding what they're doing because they don't know how important they are. If they do, then if they had the music on at all, they would have it at a reasonable level. reasonable, where a person can hear their thoughts and can hear something around them instead of just the noise. But it's so easy to get caught up in the noise. And the YMCA I go to every day, they allow the lifeguards to turn up the music around in their squawk box around the pool area as loud as they want to keep them pacified because their job is so boring. And this is a Christian-based organization, and I have a problem with Christianity because it's an exercise in blindness. I grew up in that situation. That's how I know, because I saw it firsthand. I saw it firsthand. I was in the middle of it. But many people are in the middle of it and they see nothing because they're blind. They're taught to be blind. They even say, listen to what goes on here. Anything outside here, don't pay any attention to it. And a person trapped into Christianity does exactly that. If you try to point out something that's outside their field of reference, they just shut it down. That's what they're taught to do. They're taught to be blind, and this is how it was the Christian element that elected Donald Trump in the final analysis. And I reason it because these people are accustomed to being led by the blind and becoming blind themselves. That's how they were able to bypass all the BS coming from Trump. It amazes me how shallow people can be. But this is what I'm talking about. This is their manner of expression. They have the same energy to be expressed as I do. They have all of God's energy incorporated into themselves. But they're shutting out the portion that is irrelevant to them according to what they can see. And they're blind. They're just blind. Blind because they're have been taught to be. To shut out anything that may have meaning outside of what I'm telling you is to disrespect your individuality. So religion puts you in a position to be in the herd. And I read a cartoon I really deeply appreciate. It says that man is the only animal that would choose the dumbest one to be the leader. Animals won't do that. I mean, in the wild, animals will not choose the dumbest one to be their leader. This is the strongest and the smartest and so forth. But man is capable of becoming all there is, but is also capable of choosing limitations. Religion teaches limitations. You won't hear anybody acknowledge that's in the middle of it, unless they're really opening their eyes to see what they're in. And I did, and I had to rise above that. My God, how can you stay trapped in that foolishness? And that's what it is. I didn't mean to get off on religion. When I announced to myself the talk that I was going to do, I didn't know where I would go with it, but I know I would get into something meaningful. That's what these talks do for me. It allows me to awaken just a little bit more in a particular way. And in the process, if someone needs to hear what I'm saying, then their own soul will make the connection for them. That's the way it works. Now, I do pass these talks along to people like I attempted today to, the reason I offered to talk to a lady was so that she could understand who I am. She doesn't want to go to the trouble to watch the videos, but I've already answered most of the questions she's going to ask about me. But so far that's been insufficient, but we'll see. The universe is many, many things in the process of express. Even a rock is in the process of expressing itself. And it is in the process of changing according to the way it needs to express. This would not be visible to the naked eye or even to the trained eye, the microscopic eye. It would take much understanding of science and physiology, many things, in order for a person to really capture the essence of the meaning of what a rock is involved in at this present time. But since I'm not a rock, I don't need that experience. But I do need to have a respect for what that rock is going through. And I developed a healthy respect where insects are concerned. If you want to hear it, that's in one of my talks, and you'll come across it if you choose to hear any of them. And it's about a wasp. My experience was witnessing a wasp dying as if it was a person. But you'll have to hear the story. You don't have to, but I mean, you can. If you want to understand me, this is available because I talk about these, what I've come to understand, that's what I talk about. The universal law, let me repeat, the universal law is that you can't get rid of anything. You can only change it in appearance, which allows for more learning. Change, not eradication. Because taking something that is unproductive and causing it to become productive, that is the essence of change. I'm Winston Cunningham.